Good morning, everyone. I'm Olivia Holas for Boca Magazine, and it's time for our very first coffee break in the month of April. I'm here with recurring guest, Marius Jed, managing partner of Jed Lawyers. Hi, Marty. How are you?
Good morning, Olivia. Happy April Fool's Day.
That's right, actually. I totally forgot about that. Are you a jokester?
I was going to do something to you, but I said I shouldn't do it on a Facebook Live, but I don't know. Sometimes.
I do have a good sense of humor, but I'm glad you didn't do that. And I can't believe it's already the month of April. Time flies.
Cannot believe where we are right now. And thank God it's like I feel the pent up demand. Everyone's ready to rip out of their houses and just kind of get back to normal life here.
Absolutely. And we are definitely going in the right direction. And speaking of which, we are talking about COVID today. Earlier this week, Florida Governor DeSantis did pass the Liability Shield Law that protects employers from being sued over COVID-19 exposure. Tell us a little bit more about that and how does it affect employees?
Sure. So I think what the governor's intent was to try to protect the business owners as well as balancing the act about the employees and making sure to protect employees. But really what they did is a broad sweeping bill or legislation that was just signed into law 2 days ago, which protects most or all corporations, nonprofits, any business organization from COVID liability. And it's kind of particular in the way it does it. It actually retroactively goes back 1 year to the start of the pandemic and exempts these organizations from certain liability.
Okay. And, with this law being passed, will it make it very hard for employees to sue their employers over any possible exposure to COVID-19? Tell us more about that. I mean, is there
Yeah,
still an opportunity to bring a lawsuit, or is it kind of forget it? This really protects the employers and not the employees.
so it doesn't completely bar an individual or an employee from bringing a lawsuit, but it does make it difficult. Like, for example, nursing homes, one of the biggest concerns in the country. And we all heard the horror stories about Governor Cuomo in New York and just how poorly that was mismanaged. Here in Florida, just my opinion, it was much better managed here, and there's less incidents of deaths, but there were a lot of deaths here as well. But for example, what it does is it actually makes the potential plaintiff have a higher standard. It's what's called a gross negligence standard, where the actual employer has to have certain knowledge or has to have a reasonable certainty that injury or death was caused by COVID and it was a result of their action, meaning the employer's action. So that's a much higher standard than just general negligence. So it requires a higher standard. And also you need a doctor's affidavit to comply with the law, which basically says that the employer failed to take reasonable steps and that the death was caused by this employer's gross negligence and it resulted in their death. So those things combined make it extremely hard for a plaintiff or an employee to make those claims. Not impossible, but just a difficult standard.
Yeah, and it's also kind of hard to trace back to, where you might have caught COVID-19. I mean, that's a difficult fact, difficult thing to do. So I imagine that you really got to have very strong proof. As you mentioned, the standards are really high because it is hard to trace back.
It's almost impossible. We know we've all been living with this, and we've all been exposed. Thank God I didn't have it or get it, but a lot of my friends and family members did. And you talk to them, and no one really knows exactly where they got it. They have an idea. They may have went to this event or that event, but at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is protect the employers from being the deep pocket to pay someone that they cannot prove it. And even in the bill, the law now, it says it has to be pled with specificity. You can't just make general allegations. You have to have concrete proof and relate to that proof and tie that proof to the illness. So I don't know how that's going to happen, quite frankly, for an employee. But the only example I can think of is a bar that just didn't clean anything, had complete disregard, had 250 people in there, shut the doors and let everyone just start, no fresh air. But it's a hard example for me to think of where an employer could be liable for someone's death.
Well, you kind of, already segued into my next question. What type of COVID protocols have to be in place by the employer so that, really employees have no recourse to sue? I mean, is there, a standard, the CDC guidelines? I mean, what would you recommend?
So I would recommend the CDC guidelines. That's what we use. There are other organizations such as SHRM, which is like an employer organization, which provides guidance and advice about how to deal with employees. But the CDC is the best. I mean, that's what everyone's been following. And if you follow the CDC, you're taking reasonable precautions to protect your employees, and that's what you should do.
And do you think that this will affect the way employers, might act regarding, abiding COVID protocols? Or do you think maybe some will say, well, I have this law that's protecting me. I can be a little bit more lax. I mean, what do you think the effect will be on employers and the way they treat, COVID protocol?
I think this is definitely going to give the larger corporations a peace of mind that they're not the backstop or the deep pocket here. But companies like our companies, company like your company, Boca Mag and Jed Lawyers, we're small companies. We're at the forefront of this, and we're taking precautions first of all to protect our employees because it's the right thing to do. So we're going to continue to do that. As I mentioned to you before we went live today, we're still remote. I'm working from home, as you can see, and we have about 100 people in our firm that on any given day, 85% of the firm is remote. We do have people limitedly coming in more now, but it's under social distancing. There's certain protocols. We do wear a mask in the office. We keep the doors open and the windows open as much because it's been very nice lately. Now it's getting hot, but we've had, the windows open in the building and the doors open. We've been able to do that. So taking those precautions, following the CDC guidelines, and just being kind of aware of what's going on, but not, scared to death, you can manage this thing.
Right. And, in the recent year, have you seen an influx of COVID-19 lawsuits come about at Jed Lawyers? I mean, have you seen any of those types of lawsuits?
We have. The work that we do is we do a lot of insurance work. So we saw, and I think we spoke about this before, the business interruption type of cases where people bought insurance for business interruption, which would protect them potentially in an event like this. So we have seen cases in that regard. Our firm has not seen any of these employee type related cases. I'm sure more of the employment lawyers would see those types of cases, but now that this law came in, I'm sure a lot of those different types of cases are going to be just extinguished pretty quickly.
Right. Well, this is, again, always so informative and very timely. I mean, we're not out of the woodworks. So, this is all really great information. And so for my last fun question, Marty, if you could eat only one type of food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Lebanese food.
I love Lebanese food too.
My whole
Yeah. So that's your favorite.
That's my favorite.
Anything specific? Any specific?
So I love the hummus, the tabbouleh, all those good healthy foods.
Yeah, that is super healthy. So that's great. I mean, I've heard pizza a lot, I've heard other types of less healthy options. So you really, you've picked a good choice if you had to eat one thing for the rest of your life. So I like it. Good choice.
Thank you. How about you?
I think for me, see, I'm never prepared when it comes around to me. I would have to say Greek. I like Greek, which is very similar, that Mediterranean style cuisine,
Yep.
very fresh, cucumber, just, yeah, healthy, fresh. I think that's what I would do. Yeah. I love pizza, but not every day.
No way. We'll carve out.
Exactly. Well, listen, it's always so nice chatting with you, Marty. Nice to see you. We will get to see each other again next Thursday. So I look forward to another informative session. But until then, have a really great holiday weekend.
You too, Olivia. Great to see you.
Thank you. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you and we wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful holiday weekend from everyone here at Boca Magazine and Jed Lawyers. Bye.